So Kennedy is the new Health and Human Services Secretary, huh? Holy fuck. 52 to 48 was the vote. All 52 of those votes were Republican. One Republican who had the power several years ago to stop this son of a bitch Donald Trump and refused to do so, Mitch McConnell, voted with the Democrats to not confirm this crazy fucker. He has what is his movement is what he calls medical freedom movement. Jesus Christ. Not a single Democrat in the Senate voted for this jack off. It's a real shame, too, because, the Senate, the United States Senate is where his father and his uncles, Robert Kennedy, John Kennedy, Ed Kennedy, all held offices as Democrats. And then along comes this moronic son of a bitch who continues. Let's not kid ourselves. I think Mitch McConnell is a total asshole. But in this particular vote, of course, I agree with the vote that McConnell made. McConnell, being a survivor of childhood polio, knows that when this dumb son of a bitch, Kennedy, says, well, more people died from the vaccination than from polio, anybody with an ounce of brain power knows that's horseshit, especially someone like Mitch McConnell, who suffered through the pain and suffering of polio. McConnell, before he voted, he had a searing statement that he read, according to the New York Times, he read from the Senate floor. It said in part this, quote, individuals, parents, and families have a right to push for a healthier nation and demand the best possible scientific guidance on preventing and treating illness. But a record of trafficking in dangerous conspiracy theories and eroding trust in public health institutions does not entitle Mr. Kennedy to lead these important efforts. End quote. I wonder if the time will ever come when a Senate from the Christian fascist part of the Senate, which is more than half of it now, of course, or the House of Representatives, the Christian fascist House, which is more than half of which is that, Christian fascist nutcases. I wonder if ever a time will come during this orange-faced asshole's reign if any Christian fascist representative or senator will stand in the well of the House of the Senate where his speech or her speech is protected and say something to the effect, Donald Trump is a fucking moron. Of course not. Just thinking. I think Kennedy was sworn in this afternoon. He will now lead the Department of Health and Human Services. That's an agency with 13 different divisions. 13. Food and Drug Administration, National Institutes of Health and Mental Health, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. He calls them all, those I just mentioned, he calls them corrupt. CDC is corrupt. Now, the agencies I just mentioned, FDA, NIH, CDC, they're all still reeling from this vomiting of directives coming from the orange bastard. The National Institute of Health has been targeted by Elon Musk and his little bully boys for budget cuts. The number 2 official at the National Institute of Health retired to avoid being pushed out. The CDC's weekly scientific journal, the Morbidity and Mortality and Morbidity Report, I believe is the official title. That journal, which is designed to produce reports on outbreaks and other health threats, everything from smoking to flu to whatever is affecting the health, generally speaking, of the American public. That's what the Morbidity and Mortality Bulletin is supposed to address. That bulletin was silenced by orders that prohibited, from Trump, the release of any public communications until this orange piece of shit reviewed it or someone he appointed would review it. Then it could be released. That delays a report on, for example, the one that is building strength in this country right now, the viral attack, which is so-called bird flu. And regarding bird flu, information on where that potential epidemic is right now was posted and then quickly deleted. Somebody made a mistake and tried to inform the American public. This is real fucking serious. This is, well, it's beyond serious. I have nightmares now. Well, I'm awake when I have them, but I have nightmares, daymares, when I think, how long will it be until someone decides it's time to eliminate this son of a bitch? More than one someone, where the American people decide this is enough. This fucker has to be removed from office, peacefully and legally, of course. So the question now, with this psychotic nutcase, Kennedy, who says his life was a mess until he started using heroin, who's had a worm eat part of his brain. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. And yet 52 senators, Christian fascists, every one, voted to confirm him. So the question now, what is this psycho going to do with this enormous power that he has now? He can control, listen to this, he can control whether you or I, in certain circumstances, live or die. This fucker. Even more so than the psycho that sits behind in the Oval Office. Robert Kennedy Jr. Kennedy has said he's going to tackle the chronic disease epidemic. He's going to rid grocery stores of ultra-processed foods. Go for it. Hey, I'm all for that. He's going to root out conflicts of interest in federal agencies and the panels that advise them. This is from a guy who can't tell the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. During his testimony, his confirmation hearing, he didn't know the difference. He has no fucking idea of the difference between these two agencies. And as far as research on vaccine safety, which is necessary, he says he will, quote, follow the science, end quote. Okay. I don't know why I would, even think about believing the son of a bitch after what he's said about autism and vaccines, among other things. But anyway, he's made all of these vague, kind of ill-defined promises, but no specifics. Anyway, his agenda, what he's going to do, the American public will soon know about, because he's agreed to give his first television interview to this crazy bitch on Fox, Laura batshit crazy Ingram. And apparently that show is tonight. Maybe, I don't know when batshit crazy Ingram is on Fox. God, I don't know who's on. I will never know. It's a goddamn sewer of misinformation, lies, propaganda, bullshit, ignorance, stupidity. Oh, my God. So anyway, his views about vaccination were the center of the resistance by Democrats to have him confirmed. He said that he favors the measles vaccine and polio vaccine. He wouldn't do anything to prevent or discourage people from taking them. But he opposes vaccine mandates, even for school children. But that is absolutely fucking necessary. There are so nut crazy goddamn parents, so many crazy Christian nutcase parents in this country, and some Orthodox Jews and some Muslims, but mostly Christians, who will not vaccinate their children as a prerequisite in putting them in public school, which means that every child in that school will be at risk for whatever filthy little fucking virus little Miss Susie or Mr. Bobby may carry into school because mommy and daddy wouldn't have him or her vaccinated. And when he was pushed on that issue, he refused to accept the scientific consensus that vaccines don't cause autism. What the fuck? You don't need to be an epidemiologist. You don't need to be an MD. You don't need to be a nurse practitioner. You don't need to have any part of your mind or body into the medical sciences to know that. All you have to do is be able to read the studies that have been made about autism. What is the cause of autism? Right now, nobody is really certain, but they know it does not fucking come from a vaccination. Well, Senator Angus King, who is an independent from Maine, he voted with the Democrats. He said, if this were a secret ballot, this man wouldn't get 20 votes, end quote. But it wasn't a secret ballot, was it? And as a result, he got, 52 votes, right? I don't know if Senator King is correct. Is there that much fear in the U.S. Senate of this orange fucking pig, Donald Trump, and his cadre of brown shirts? Is there really? You're not afraid of him. I'm not afraid of him. And senators and representatives who have all this power are afraid of him? I think there's more there than just fear. Lisa Murkowski, who voted for him, said in a social media post yesterday, quote, I continue to have concerns about Mr. Kennedy's views on vaccines and his selective interpretation of scientific studies. But he has made numerous commitments to me and my colleagues, promising to work with Congress to ensure public access to information and to base vaccine recommendations on data-driven, evidence-based, and medically sound research, end quote, Lisa Murkowski. Lisa, you're out of your fucking mind. You've been out there in the Alaska wilds too much. You're going to believe this lying son of a bitch after everything that he said, over the past 20 years. How long has it been when his own family, Lisa, his own family says he's a predator? Oh, well. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.